In the name of Allah, our Creator, the Creator of the universe and of everything that's in it, we greet you all in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. And in this new episode of our program, Reason, we have to emphasize the fact that the Holy Quran is the book of reason. The Holy Quran is basically a book of guidance to man in the areas of faith, acts of worshipping, the moral code, and the code of transactions with others. And if we examine any of these areas in the Holy Quran, we can find enough evidence to sustain and substantiate the fact that this book cannot be the work of man, but it is the word of the Creator himself. The Holy Quran also contains a large amount of other informations. It speaks about perished nations, how they received the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with acceptance or rejection, what was their reward or punishment. It speaks about many of the psychological problems that man can face in this life and how can he or she overcome that. And this is included in what we call the psychological inimitability of the Holy Quran. It contains many of the educational, administrative, and organizational facts of life. It also contains an immense knowledge about the universe. More than 1,000 verses in the Holy Quran speak about the cosmos. And these verses can also testify to the fact that this book cannot be the work of man, but it is the word of the Creator, subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have been discussing a number of verses, of Quranic verses, that touch upon that topic, cosmic verses. And today we will begin with another verse that comes in Surah An-Naml, chapter 27. And the Surah, An-Naml, the ants, we have a verse that is number 61 that reads, أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا وَجَعَلَ خِلَالَهَا أَنْهَارًا وَجَعَلَ لَهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ حَاجِزًا أَإِلَهٌ مَعَ اللَّهِ بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Who else would have made the earth a stable planet suitable to live on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who else would have caused rivers to flow through its rugged topography and cut their way through such hard rocks? Who else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who else could have established mountains on the surface of that planet to stabilize everything in it and make it suitable for human existence and animal and plant existence? Who else? من جعل الأرض قرارا وجعل خلالها أنهارا وجعل لها رواسي وجعل بين البحرين حاجزا. Who else would separate fresh water from saline water, and saline water of different physical and chemical characteristics from waters with other characteristics, so that he can provide many media and suitable environments for the different forms of life? Who else other than Allah could have done that? And that's why the verse ends by saying, أَإِلَهٌ مَعَ اللَّهِ. Could there be other deity besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the answer is definitely no. And that's why the verse says, بَلْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But many people who exist on the surface of that planet do not know the realities of this life, the realities of the blessings of Allah upon man and upon the different forms of life that inhabit our planet. This verse, of course, contains an immense amount of knowledge, and it needs elaboration. And here I would like to ask these young ladies and gentlemen to comment what they can get out of reading this verse. And we'll start with Shaza.
I think one of the most interesting things about this verse is that it points out specifically water and how there is water and on our planet, and how we should take a deeper look, because water is so vital to us, and we all know we cannot live without it.
Yes.
We also know that our planet is more than 70% water, and life is
dependent
on it, based on it,
yes. Yes.
and that we should take a deeper look.
Thank you. Khalid?
I just want to add on top of what Chaz just said, that this verse contains a lot of visual facts about the existence of God on earth, which complete the verse itself. How can people do not believe in God? So the verse having the fact that it has water, mountains, rivers, which God created for men and women to live in. And then the questions say, how can people do not believe with the existence of God and that He created all this for us?
Barakallah fiqh. Shireen?
What I find amazing is that God mentioned in just one verse so many different scientific facts, amazing scientific facts, in just one verse of the Holy Quran itself. So, and I find it very appropriate, the question at the end, can there be another God but
Yes.
Allah? Or
Barakallah fiqh. Actually, this verse contains an immense amount of knowledge that needs elaboration, that can take more effort to understand what's in it. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا. Who else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this earth suitable for to be inhabited? A stable planet that is easily a wonderful home for every form of life that's living on it. And nowadays we know that the bulk of the weight of the earth is in the center of the earth. The earth has got a ball of iron and nickel at the center, which is known as the inner core of the earth. This inner core is a solid ball of iron, wherein iron is about 90%, nickel is about 9%, and light elements are about 1%. And the fact that the bulk of the weight of the earth is at its center has made it a balanced planet. Other planets are either made of light elements or made of gases, and hence cannot be suitable for inhabitation, cannot be suitable for life. And that's why Allah is showing His bounties upon us, that He has made that particular planet suitable for the life that has flourished on its surface. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا. We have evidence that our earth started by what we call a proto-earth, and a beginning, preliminary earth. And this preliminary earth was no more than a heap of ash. A heap of ash composed of very light elements, nothing heavier than silicon, aluminium. And then Allah bombarded that earth with a large amount of iron meteorites. And these iron meteorites penetrated that heap of ash and melted and caused that heap of ash to melt and to be differentiated into 7 earths. A solid inner core, a molten inner core having the same chemical composition, 4 layers of mantle wherein the density decreases gradually towards the periphery, and an outer rocky cover on which we live, and this outer rocky cover is composed of very light material. And that's why the bulk of the weight of the earth is at the center of the earth. And this has made the earth suitable for this type of life that lives on it. Other planets in our solar system are either gaseous or composed of very light material. It cannot be suitable for any form of life we know of on the surface of that planet. And that's why this first fact is essential. It shows the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on us by making this planet that such, having its maximum weight right at its center. Having this ball of iron at the core of the earth has given the earth a strong gravitational field, and this strong gravitational field could hold the gaseous atmosphere, could hold the water, the hydrosphere, could hold forms of life living on it, because without this gravity, life would have been impossible. And that's why this word qararan needs quite a lot of elaboration to speak of. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا وَجَعَلَ خِلَالَهَا أَنْهَارًا. Who else other than Allah could have caused these rivers to flow? And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this earth at its early beginning with a very rugged topography, very high peaks and high chains of mountains. Then Allah created the processes of erosion, wind, running water, gravity, and the like, to cut down and peneplane these rugged topographies. And in this process, water played the maximum role. And as water was falling on these rocks, then channels were created and rivers were made to flow amidst this rough topography. And this flow of rivers not only lowered the topography, but created sediments, created mineral concentrations, mineral wealths, were media for life to live in, because we know that life began in water before life was on land at all. So this process of running water and the cycle of water around the earth itself, water being evaporated from seas and oceans, falling on land, cutting their channels, flowing back to the seas and oceans, is really unique. And it testifies to the miraculous work of the Creator himself. Because it has been lately proved that annually 380,000 cubic kilometers of water is evaporated from the surface of the earth, and they return to the minutest drop. They come back to earth with a different distribution. So the notion of the flowing rivers within the topography, rugged topography of the earth, it is again one of the greatest bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the earth and on people and animal and plant life living on that planet. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا وَجَعَلَ خِلَالَهَا أَنْهَارًا وَجَعَلَ لَهَا رَوَاسِيَ. Allah is mentioning the mountains, the stabilizers, you see. And the mountains are not only stabilizing the continental masses on which we live, because we know that these continental masses are broken away from each other by faults, which we call these the lithospheric plates, plates of the outer rocky layer of the earth. And these plates actually are flowing on a zone of weakness, which we call asthenosphere, or zone of weakness, wherein rocks are in a semi-molten nature. As the earth revolves around its own axis, these plates skip very quickly, as if somebody is gliding or sliding on ice. And with this movement, life would have been impossible. No soil could accumulate, no groundwater could be stored, no road could be constructed, no plant could grow, no house could be built, no human or animal could exist. And that's why Allah shows His bounties upon us by stabilizing these continental masses with mountains. And nowadays we know that these mountains have very deep extensions in the ground, and they penetrate the outer rocky layer of the earth completely and float into the zone of weakness. They simulate icebergs in oceans. And as much as erosion can erode the peaks of these mountains come up by gravity. They come up by flotation, you see. And that's why these mountains are an essential factor for making continental masses suitable for living. Not only this, but these mountains are so wonderfully distributed on the surface of the planet that it minimizes the jerking of that planet as it rotates around its own axis. So it stabilizes the planet as a whole and stabilizes continental masses on which we live. أَمَّنْ جَعَلَ الْأَرْضَ قَرَارًا وَجَعَلَ خِلَالَهَا أَنْهَارًا وَجَعَلَ لَهَا رَوَاسِيَ. And the connection between flowing rivers and mountains testifies to the fact that no rivers could flow without rugged topography. Unless you have high peaks and slopes, rivers could have never flown. So the connection is very intimate, very close. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ حَاجِزًا. This verse alone needs a whole session to explain, because the immediate meaning that comes to our memory is a freshwater river flowing into a sea. And we notice that once a freshwater river flows into a sea or an ocean, this freshwater can develop into the sea or into the ocean for hundreds of kilometers without mixing with it completely, because freshwater has got a lower density than the saline water, and that's why it floats on the surface of freshwater. With this simple character, freshwater can extend into seas for several kilometers without mixing with the saline water. Not only this, but as the river flows, it carries with it an immense quantity of sediments. And that's why it starts to build a submerged delta. And this submerged delta has got two sides of sediments that separate the fresh water inside the delta from the saline water on both sides. And it has got a barrier at the front, as also separates this fresh water for quite a long distance from mixing with the saline water. Where the fresh water mixes, a zone of brackish water, water with low salinity, is formed between the two bodies. And this also separates the fresh water from the saline water. Not only this, but when two seas interconnect, like the Red Sea flowing into the Indian Ocean. We know the Red Sea is a semi-closed sea. Evaporation is high, so the salinity of the Red Sea becomes higher than that of the ocean. As the water flows from the Red Sea into the Arabian Sea to the Indian Ocean, it actually flows at the bottom because it has got a higher density. And so it flows at the bottom and doesn't mix for quite a long distance, and remains the same, isolated from the open ocean. The same thing we find where the Mediterranean Sea connects with the Atlantic Ocean through Gibraltar, Jabal Tariq. The Mediterranean Sea is partially closed, and that's why highly saline, hence high dense. And the density of the Mediterranean Sea goes at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean without mixing with its own waters. It's absolutely amazing. Not only this, but even in the same sea and in the same ocean, we find that the sunshine evaporates from the surface water. And that's why the surface water becomes slightly saline, and more dense. It goes down. And if we take a column of water at the equator, we can actually find all the climatic zones. I find equatorial water at the top, and then water cools gradually. Find intermediate water, cool zone water, until I find the polar water at the equator. And this vertical stratification of the water in seas and oceans and lateral isolation of surface of waters in the same sea is something that's absolutely amazing, because Allah is multiplying the economic niches, the ecologic niches, the ecologic environments that suit every type and form of life. So in every layer of the sea, we find the water has got certain physical and chemical characteristics, certain sediments that can come from it, and certain animals and life and plants that can live in it. And amazingly enough, every form of life is restricted to its environment. It cannot transgress the boundaries. If it transgresses the boundary, it may be killed immediately. So by instinct, they don't transgress the boundaries. And except for very few forms that Allah has given them the capacity to transgress these boundaries. But in the same sea, we can find vertical stratification of layers of water having different chemical and physical characteristics, different forms of life, and different types of sediments accumulating from each layer. And if we go to the different seas, a closed sea will have different water than an open sea. If we come for the delta flowing into a sea, we find the fresh water not mixing easily with the saline water. With this character, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of this universe, has multiplied the environments so that each type of life, plant or animal, can find the suitable environment where it can live in. With this elaboration, we can see that this simple verse that came in few words actually contains so much knowledge that was not available at the time of revelation of the Holy Quran. And this in itself testifies to the fact that this holy book cannot be the work of man, it is the word of the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala, because nobody at the time of revelation, nor for centuries after that time, knew anything about these facts. Neither about the earth having its maximum density at its central part, nor the connection between building mountains and running water, nor the role of mountains as stabilizer for the earth, nor this fact that water, which is the most strong solution we know of, it has got this greatest capacity to dissolve a large number of solids, this water can meet without complete mixing. These facts alone can testify to the divine nature of this holy book and the correct prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And that's why we emphasize the need to elaborate on cosmic verses in the Holy Quran. With this summary, I would like two of you to start telling us something about this. We'll start with you, if you could tell us something.
Okay. Well, I don't have the scientific knowledge to talk about anything within the verse, but I think this verse proves that the Quran was revealed to all of mankind, not just the Arabs in Mecca.
Of course.
Because it talks about different things on earth that aren't usually found in the same place, where
Yes.
there are mountains in places and there's ocean somewhere else,
No.
and there's rivers somewhere else. And as you said, nobody could possibly have known that.
Yes.
I don't think they even had the form of transport to see the three things in their whole lifetimes.
Yes.
So it just proves that the one who wrote the Quran was the one who created them all, and that it was also revealed to everyone on
Not
earth.
truth. The one who revealed the
revealed
Quran.
the Quran.
Yes. Yes.
Is the one who created the earth, and
Yes.
that it was revealed to all of mankind, not just the Arabs, for example.
Oh, definitely, because we know that Islam came to all humanity, regardless of their nationality or color or creed or tongue. It
Right.
came for humanity at large. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the seal of prophethood. No messenger or prophet will come after him, and that's why Allah has taken the responsibility to preserve that book, to be a testimony on all human beings of all ages until the end of this world. Ahmed, could tell us something.
You mentioned a lot of scientific facts which I was really ignorant about, and while you were reciting it, I just remembered how excited scientists are worldwide about the discovery of frozen water on Mars, and just made me realize we got used to what we are seeing and what we're living. We're not actually realizing how important it is, and the creativity in it and the strength of the creator. If we look through the same eyes we're looking at Mars, if we look at Earth and we see all the things you mentioned, we're like aghast, and we just sit back and saying, "Whoa, this is big. This must be the work of someone who's superior, of someone who's really of a creator, basically."
Yes.
And the second,
yes.
sorry.
Yes.
And the second thing is, I think we should be grateful to Allah for making us make these scientific discoveries, and therefore realize the importance of these verses.
Yes.
100 years ago, we would not have understood this much.
Of course.
And I just wonder if there's more to it that we don't understand now.
That's very true. That's very true. You see, this is why the Quran calls upon all human beings to look into themselves and look into the creation around themselves in hundreds of verses. And the Quran laments on people who cannot use their intellects, use their senses, use their vision to see into the creation, the reality of the existence of a creator, and to see the greatness of that creator in the greatness of his creation, and see the wisdom in the wisdom of creation, and see the might in the greatness of the universe, and see really the essence of our existence on the surface of that planet as vicegerents on earth, responsible for its safety, its construction, its happiness, and the establishment of the divine justice on earth, as well as worshipping our Creator in the way He has prescribed. So really, looking into the universe is one way of knowing your Creator. And that's why the Quran, in endless number of verses, أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ, don't they have their minds? أَفَلَا يُبْصِرُونَ, don't they see? أَفَلَا يَتَذَكَّرُونَ, don't they remember? So really, the Quran laments on people who go blindly into this world, indulge into their material needs, and forget about their end. Where are we going after this life? Which is the main question in the existence of every one of us. So I hope these cosmic verses can not only invite non-Muslims to look into the Holy Quran and see the greatness and the divine purity of that book, but also establish Muslims more strongly in their faith, because we are the only people who have got the divine word in its divine purity, preserved in its totality, word to word and letter to letter. When others in whom we believe and respect and trust have lost their original textbooks, have been playing around with memories carried out by mouth talk from grandparents to grandchildren and from parents to children without any authenticity whatsoever. And that's why we call upon all people who believe in God, believe in resurrection after death, in accountability, in judgment, in eternity, in life to come, to look at the Quran, look objectively to the Holy Quran, even in a translation, although we know that any translation cannot do justice to the divine superiority of the Quran in Arabic. Yet, reading it even in a translation can show everybody, every sensible person, that this book cannot be the work of man, but it is the word of the Creator in its divine purity. And inshallah, we will be following with other verses in sessions to come. And I would end with the same greeting I started. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you all. See you again in another session of this program, Reason, which is the essence of the Islamic faith.